Okay, here we go. Here we go. This is going to be episode one. Episode one of Chance in My Arm, the pod with purpose, with me, Stevie Downs, also known as the One Arm Surfer. So, straight up, going to be honest, I have asked ChatGPT to write this initial intro to the new pod. Used to write them all out myself. So 20 minutes. It's about, I can't remember, is it 20,000 words? But for this one, I've got ChatGPT to write down what it thought the podcast by the One Arm Surfer would look like. So let's see if you can discern which bits are me just whittering on and which bits are ChatGPT telling me what to say. And I'm hopefully just going to use it to just to give it some structure. And this is probably not a great thing to admit at the start of a podcast because I really didn't have the inclination to write out 20,000 words with one hand. I used to do it, but I used to have a load more time on my hand, whereas now time feels a bit, my time is a bit more, I don't know. I haven't got as much of it basically. So anyway, let's go. Here we go. Let's see how it goes. So it says soft ambient sound of waves, coffee shop, hum fades in. I wish I had the technical ability to do that. All right, here we go. If you're listening, thank you, genuinely. Some of you came along for the ride in my first podcast, Chopped, Strength Through Vulnerability, where I shared a very personal journey about losing my arm, finding my feet, or bored again, navigating sarcoma, recovery, identity, and all the strange and beautiful pieces that fell out of that experience. ChatGPT did pretty well with that opening, and it was wild. I mean, those who know me would know that I wouldn't say that. Not because the numbers were huge or because it went viral, but because people actually felt it. I mean, yeah, I suppose I did get messages from people. And on that note, every week, I've done one podcast this year, and I think I did one last year. But foolishly, not foolishly, that's the wrong word, but I've kept on my Buzzsprout account, which cost me £9 a month, which really I'm not getting value for money from. But what it does do is keep the original podcast out there, and I get viewing or listening figures rather every week. And what really surprises me is every week there's a handful, I mean, my sort of handful of listeners. So, I wouldn't ever say it gets over 10, but 5, 6, 7, 8 maybe listeners. And I always, I quite like that. That's still something I put out there post-op, post-surgery, post-massively life-changing event is still being listened to by people, and possibly not people who know me, who listen for whatever reason they listen because they know me, because they've been, there's people who've been massive supporters of me throughout this whole journey. So as grateful as I am for them for listening, I guess it's always nice that you're reaching people who possibly don't know you. As my good mate BWJ artist always says to me, I don't really listen to your pod, mate, because I listen to you talk whenever we're together. So he kind of knows everything that's going on. But anyway, if someone who's going through something similar has listened to this pod and it's given them some sort of hope, some sort of belief that they can rebuild their life, then it's been worth doing, hasn't it? So that was me just wittering, could you tell? So welcome to the next chapter, Chance in My Arm, the pod with purpose. This time we're broadening the lens. This podcast is still deeply personal. You can't amputate an arm and not end up in a few philosophical cul-de-sacs. I like that. But it's also forward-looking. It's about building something new from everything that nearly broke me. I mean, I'm feeling pretty broken at the moment, if I'm honest. Change of season, not a winter person, as my wife will testify, as my parents will testify. Not a winter person at all. People who enjoy the dark, cosy nights, not me, thank you very much. But what I'd really like this podcast to be about is it's about the people I've met since the amputation who've reshaped my thinking. I mean, is there an element that ChatGPT wrote that? Is there an element of truth to that? I've met incredible people over the last 3 years who I would never have met had this not happen, but here we go. It's about creativity, grit, blue health, surfing, service, business, recovery, connection, and ultimately, and this bit is true, it's about purpose. It's about finding that purpose in your life. And I should say where this whole purpose thing for me came from. No, I'll save that for later because that's linked in intrinsically to the Dawn Patrol story. So today's episode 1, a kind of setting the stage where I'll talk about why this podcast exists, where the idea for Dawn Patrol Coffee came from, and I'd like to say and who you'll meet in upcoming episodes, but I haven't really got anyone lined up. But I've had a few people who I've messaged who said they would come on, and if I can get some of them on, they'll be wicked guests, there'll be wicked people to talk to. So let's get into it. Part 1, why a new podcast? Losing an arm changes a lot. I mean, that goes without saying, doesn't it? Your balance, your body image, the simple daily motions. But the thing no one tells you is how it changes your perspective. It really does. It really does change your perspective on life. And that's what chancing my arm is about. I have this thing now within me that I will pretty much have a go at anything. And should we get into some of the things I've chanced my arm at now? Should we do that now? So I'm trying to think back to, so at the start of the year, my wife and her daughter are big Traitors fans. I've never watched it. Anyway, I watched it this season. I watched the Celebrity one, love it. My wife said to me, you'd be good on Traitors. So I applied for Traitors. Never heard anything back from Traitors, but I did the full application, but never heard anything back. Then maybe a couple of weeks later, maybe not even that long, I get a message on Instagram from a girl who was a casting agent for some Channel 4. I don't know, some subsidiary of Channel 4. Anyway, she has a chat with me. We're doing this this show that's going to be like a huge game of hide and seek, but with a psychological element to it. So a bit like Traitors, but it was going to be somewhere in Europe, running around in a forest in Europe playing hide and seek. So I had a chat with her. I was like, yeah, sounds great. I like a game of hide and seek. Still play hide and seek with my son and his mate when they come round on a rainy day. I like to use dynamic hide and seeking. So I'll hide somewhere, I'll hear them go past, then I'll move, they'll check where I was, then I'll go somewhere else, anyway, I use dynamic hide and seek. Anyway, so I do my I don't know what you call it, my casting reel, whatever it is, send that off. She gets back to me, says, we've shown your casting reel to Channel 4, they really liked it. I was like, all right, great, nice one. So we'd like to advance you to the next stage of the process. So the bit that you never know about TV is the amount of forms you have to fill in. So they sent bundles and bundles and bundles of forms that I had to fill out. CRB checks, and then I think I had another call with someone from the show, and that went really well. And my wife's like, oh my God, you're going to be on this program. And there's a huge conflict for me that I think I was going to be away for 3 weeks. And what I've really learned is I think I'm a bit of a homebody. I like being at home. I like, the dream of, my son started playing football, like all young lads, all young kids who like football. I don't think he really dreams of being but obviously we speak about, okay, imagine if you're a Premier League footballer, mate, what would your dream progression through the sides be? So start somewhere around here, starts at Plymouth. His stepfather is a QPR fan, so he gets a move to QPR, does all right at QPR for a season or two, then gets the big money move to the mighty Manchester City, obviously. A couple of seasons there where he's smashing it out, and then maybe a big move to a European giant, maybe Bayern, Barcelona, Real Madrid, something like that. And then he comes back, maybe finishes his career down here at Plymouth, whatever. And what it really got me, the life of a Premier League footballer, so your financial reward is incredible. You've got to be away from home for a lot of your time, haven't you? Anyway, so a big conflict for me around doing, I think it was called The Hunt, was the amount of time I'm going to be away for. But I weighed it up, and I think there was £75,000 on offer if you won it. So anyway, all moving on. I had a proper in-depth conversation with the show psychologist to check whether I don't know whether I'd be able to withstand anyway, I did all that. I'd filled out more forms. It's like, wow, this is really moving forward. And then talk of a couple of days in London where there'd be a full range of health and fitness checks. And you might have noticed, those who follow me on Instagram, I went big on doing loads of fitness. And the reason I was doing all that fitness was, one, I wanted to learn a one-arm press-up for Mike 2. Two, it'd benefit my surfing massively, obviously. Three, it's good for your health. But also, I was really conscious of, God, if I'm going to go on this show that's running around in a jungle, not in a jungle, in a forest somewhere in Europe, I'm going to have to be fit. And then it's all proceeding well. I can't remember her name that the contact had, but she kept messaging me saying, yeah, really, really, it's moving on well. But to get this far, you've done incredible. But please, don't be disheartened if you don't make it. And I was sort of like, I'm ambivalent to it. If I get it, great, I'd love to do it. But if I don't, I'm not away from home. And then I met with the show's, or one of the show's executive producers, Demi. Must have been mid-20s, and she's asking me various questions about if I was on the show, and she got to the question, how would you deal with conflict in the show? And I think this is where I don't want to say shot myself in the foot, but I said, well, let's say there's a really dominant alpha character in it. Rather than butt heads with them, let's say they were making calls that I disagree with, rather than overtly challenging them on them, my strategy would be to let the others see how unadvisable or in uninformed maybe, or lacking judgment their choices are, and almost let them fall on the sword rather than get into like rutting stags with them, because I've got one arm. I'm not going to be very good at rutting, am I? So and she literally went, right, that's great, thanks, Stephen. And I never heard anything back ever again. And as I said to a good mate of mine, as I said to his wife after telling her the story, she went, that's a wonderful philosophy for life, but doesn't probably make for particularly good television. So I never heard anything back. And to take me through all them processes and not even give me, not even have the courtesy to say, thanks so much, Stephen, for all your time, for all your effort you put into, but this show isn't, we found people who maybe fit the criteria of what we're looking for better. That was a bit of a kick in the knackers, I'm not going to lie. So totally went off on a tangent there. That's chancing my arm, isn't it? So other things that I've, so obviously the coffee, I am chancing my arm with the coffee. But, I've always, let's get into that later. Let's get into all that later. So that's one of the things I've done, isn't it? I suppose I took voluntary redundancy from my job with Openreach, and I want to be, Openreach were amazing with me, BT were amazing with me. They kept me on for 2 years. My manager was brilliant. He sort of kept me under the radar for as long as he possibly could. I know there was other people who'd been through similar things with Openreach who wanted to get back working for Openreach. I knew my time was done. I like being a telephone engineer, out in getting in my van every morning, driving somewhere, listening to a podcast on the way, I was a new site joiner, doing it noisy and messy on site, but I kind of liked it. Connected, we were a joke with BWJ that we were connecting the nation. The railways for the new millennia, putting something in that will hopefully last for generations, super fast broadband. So anyway, Openreach were brilliant with me, kept me on for 2 years. Manager kept me under the radar, I was getting full pay. And I suppose part of what's going on for me at the moment, I'm really conscious of the last 3 years I've lived in a bubble of financial security, where I've been able to do a little clothing brand, I've been able to invest some money into getting a little coffee thing going, go surfing, take my son to school every day. I've had all them opportunities that are denied. If you're working 9 to 5, you don't get to drop your son off at school, you don't get to pick him up. Missed out on all that with my daughter because I was working all the time. And I'm really conscious that's what I value more than money in my life. I value experiences far more than money. But the harsh reality is, and everything's going up for everybody, our energy bills have doubled, our food shopping's doubled, our water bill, everything's doubled. So chanced my arm at the start of it was this time last year, really. Voluntary paid leave was offered up to engineers, and I took it. It was, considering I've worked there 7 years, and for 2 years I hadn't even worked, it was a good chunk of money. My idea was to be a supply teacher, keep the money coming in that way, because when I'd been supply teacher previously. Once I'd qualified, there was so much supply work around, and I sort of maybe naively thought that I'd be able to get in a few schools. They'd like the cut of my jib. I'd fit in with them. They'd fit in with me, and I'd have steady work. And that just hasn't really panned out at all. The work is very hit and miss. There's no consistency to it. And speaking to my neighbour down the road, who's sort of quite high up in a trust, he just said to me, Steve, that supply budgets have been absolutely decimated. There's no money for it in schools anymore. And I've returned to school, returned to teaching. It's something, for some reason, I'm not blowing my own trumpet here. I'm sort of quite naturally good at it. For some reason, the kids primarily do seem to like me. They do seem to listen to me. They do seem to respect me. And the schools I've been in, I've had all, really pretty good feedback from, but there hasn't been those return booking kind of thing. So just going to have a little cup of Dawn Patrol coffee, and these are from some samples we're doing for a new range, additions to the Dawn Patrol range. These are going to be blends. And they are going to be blends, and they're going to be named after famous Cornish beaches and waves. So, if you are listening and you can think of a Cornish beach or a Cornish wave that a Dawn Patrol coffee should take the name of, hit me up. I'm thinking we've got a really big espresso blend. That's going to be the Cribber Reef. To those who know surfing in Cornwall in the UK, and the Cribber is a big wave that breaks off. Is it Towan Headland? I'm not terrible with my headlands, but Towan Headland, just near Fistral Beach, big wave, lights up in the winter. You can go and watch people surf it. It's incredible. So I'm thinking there's going to be a Cribber blend. I'm thinking there's a wave down on the south coast called Porthleven, which is one of Cornwall's only reefs. Brilliant when you see footage of people surfing. It's amazing. So I'm thinking there's going to be another one called Porthleven Heaven. I think I'd like to call it Leven Heaven, but whether it's overt enough what it is, and then two others. So any ideas, let me know. Oh, sorry. Another reason I'm probably been feeling a bit under the weather of late is my son got croup the back end of September, and ever since he's had croup, I have had the worst chest wheezes you can imagine. That's going on for 2 months now. And I just had a look at what is croup. Croup's a virus, and I'm not sure whether that virus is lingering within me, and it's kicking off my allergies, and that's why I'm always wheezing. My wife's got a cat, we've got a cat, Sunshine. But I went to stay up at my mate's the other week up in Bristol. Those who remember the original podcast, Whiskey and Suzanne, Whiskey and our Suzanne, Whiskey who I met on my way to London on the day that Dawn Patrol was the inception of Dawn Patrol. I met Whiskey on the replacement bus service. And we're still mates now. I went to Wembley, got me tickets to go to Wembley twice, me and Wilf. It wouldn't have happened if I hadn't met Whiskey. Stay at his house when I was up in Bristol. Those who know me, I'm an older child, and I'd say Whiskey's like a bit of an older brother to me. He's probably 10 years, I think he's 10 years. Top guy, really. Got so much time for Whiskey. He's totally different kind of character than me. He was in the Navy, he's in the fire service now. But just got so much time for the pair of them. They've been brilliant with me. So yeah, I've gone off on another tangent there, haven't I? I'm going to go back to ChatGPT to just try and add. So after my surgery, after waking up and realising I genuinely had a second chance, I felt this pull, like I needed to do something that wasn't just about me. That much is true. And I didn't know what shape that would take. Was it advocacy? Was it surf coaching? Was it charity work? Was it something else? Well, it wasn't ever going to be surf coaching, but certainly I'm amputee surfing. Advocacy is something I've been doing through Sarcoma UK. Charity work, you don't become a teacher, you don't become a nurse, you don't become any of those things unless you want something more than just a daily job. So anyway, it turns out it was coffee, which is weird. So shall I go into how Dawn Patrol coffee came about now? Shall we do that? So I went to London with my good mate Jimmy Brisby, who's been amazing, who's been so supportive. Jimmy, as you know, as those who know, we call him Sausage Jim. He's He's the chief commercial officer of, I don't know if I should say, he's the chief commercial officer of a very, very, very large food company who provides Sainsbury's, Tesco. If you're eating sausages, they probably come through Sausage Jim. And Jim has been really, me and Jim mapped out a strategy of what we thought could be my way out of, my way of getting meaningful employment following the amputation of my arm. And that strategy was, Jim had heard me on the radio a few times, and he said, "You're good at speaking, mate. You're good at it. You could do the public speaking thing. You could charge 400 or 500. I don't know what it's worth, what I'm worth to listen to, but so the strategy was, and he knew a guy who he supplies with the pork for his sausages. He knows a guy called Wilfred Emmanuel Jones. Wilfred Emmanuel Jones is the black farmer. He's obviously got connections. Wilfred's been in TV. He's got his own brands. He brought out other brands. I think Kettle Chips and Lloyd Grossman Sauces are two of Wilfred's brands, but also his own brand, the Black Farmer. Wilfred does own a farm, but he doesn't farm. He's not a cattle farmer. He gets he gets all his stuff off Jimmy. The strategy was, we go and see Wilfred. Get Wilfred's advice. At the time, I was doing chop surf coat as it was then, my own little t-shirt brand for the reasons that I just wanted clothes that I could adapt to my needs that were representative of the person I was. Sort of surfskate brand, bit of music, bit of art, whatever. And to go and see Wilfred and ask for some advice on how I guess the reality is I'm trying to make myself the brand. I'm trying to make my story the brand. But Jim's idea was, we go and see Wilfred. Wilfred has got connections in TV. Wilfred can maybe pull a few strings, get some sort of little short movie about your story out there, which gives you a bit of an audience. People might then know who you are, which then can benefit you in getting these public speaking gigs. Oh, it was the guy who was on that was the kind of plan. And if you sell a few t-shirts along the way, I don't think Jim ever thought that Chopped was a scalable model that's going to become like Passenger or Finisterre or whatever. It's never, and I guess that's the reality of it. That's true, isn't it? Anyway, so we go to meet Wilfred, and that's when I met Whiskey. So getting the train from Bodmin at 5:30 in the morning, rail replacement bus service. I'm the only person on it. We always joke about this because in the original pod I spoke about this, and I said I'm getting in the shitty Sherpa. Whiskey's still driving the shitty Sherpa. Anyway, I think I've told the Whiskey story in the other pods, but anyway, we go meet Wilfred. We go to the RAC club in London, which is on Pall Mall. Great big Greco-Roman Greek style thing. It's an insane building, insane club, swimming pool at the bottom. Really, it was on Pall Mall, so you can imagine what it was like. Wilfred's there in like a fedora, really cool dresser, really stands out. You know, he's the only black man in the club. He's owning it. Wilfred's cool. So we were having a chat with him, and he'd listened to my pod, and he sort of said, "Oh, you're a lot more lively and a lot more engaging than you were on your podcast." I went, "Well, I was speaking about getting my arm amputated." So anyway, we're having a chat, and Wilfred's cool, get on with him, and he's like, "So it's pretty brutal with him." He said, "I don't think you've got a scalable business with your clothing range. It's too personal." I went, "Well, yeah, fair enough." But let's say you do start selling a few t-shirts and sweatshirts and whatever. Where do you go next? And I sort of said, well, surf brands are diversifying more into lifestyle. So, you know, whether it's a nice warm blanket that you take in your van with you or whatever. So my idea would be coffee. And this is genuine. I'd always had this little kernel of an idea of a coffee brand called Dawn Patrol that sources coffees from areas of the world renowned for fantastic tasting coffee and also synonymous with good surf. Dawn Patrol being the name given to surfers when surfers get up at the crack of dawn, as the sun's rising, catch the first waves of the day. And Wilfred just looks at me and went, "I fucking like that. I like that. You might have something there. With your story, with the right branding, with the right coffee, the right visuals, you might have something with that." And I suppose this is where businessmen differ. He turned straight to Jimmy and went, "Get your corporate lawyers to see if we can trademark Dawn Patrol coffee. Wilfred straight on his phone, domains.com, whatever. It's like, there you go, www.dawnpatrol.co.uk. It's available. Buy it on the way home on the train. That's your first job. Buy that domain name. So Dawn Patrol was born. That was how it came about, from that meeting. Now I've liked coffee since, I suppose, we were going to Fuerteventura in the 90s, the early 2000s. Obviously continental Europe was on the coffee thing a lot earlier than we were, and that was the first time I really got into coffee, and I got myself a mocha pot when we came back. And there's a process to making coffee, isn't there? Grinding the beans, putting it on. I like the processes. I like drinking coffee. I drink loads of it. I drink probably too much of it. So it's genuine. I like coffee. There's an integrity to it. It's something I believe in, and it's a journey I've been on, and the journey's been amazing. It's not to say it's not incredibly challenging at times, and starting your own business is not something I would recommend. And I've seen loads of quotes where people say, you know, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. And there's so many times where you just think, I think I've taken this as far as I can do it. I haven't got the resilience to keep going, because let's say there's 100 experiences, 99 of them are probably knockbacks, and then you get one little flash of hope, one little beam of light that you're like, oh right, okay, yeah, it has moved forward, it is moving forward. So that's how Dawn Patrol was born. Takes, I don't know how long it took to get the trademark. It took maybe 6 to 8 months to get the trademark, but the trademark for Dawn Patrol coffee, Dawn Patrol coffee beans, Dawn Patrol ground coffee, Dawn Patrol coffee paraphernalia is all in my name. So I own the trademark. There are other Dawn Patrol coffees out there. There are other companies who have a coffee called Dawn Patrol. And I suppose if I was inclined to do so, I could start chasing after them. So you can't use that. That's my trademark, but that's not my bag. So, and then it would be completely remiss of me at this point. There's 3 of us kind of involved in Dawn Patrol. Obviously, I'm the one who's the figurehead of it. It's my story. And as Wilfred said to me, you are not selling coffee. Of course I am selling coffee, he said, but you are selling an emotion to people. It's your story that you're selling, and the coffee comes on the back of it. Because, you know, it is specialty coffee, it is good coffee. And don't take my word for it, take the Specialty Coffee Association's word for it. It's all ranked as good, very good. I don't think I've got any that are outstanding. But it is, you know, it's specialty coffee, and some of you might wonder, oh God, your coffee's expensive. It's expensive because it's got a provenance to it, and in the coffee world, provenance means it's traceable. You can trace my coffee back to the farm where it has been picked, to the farmers who have picked it, and you can be guaranteed that those farmers are getting a fair price for their coffee. And if you want the farmer in Sumatra, in Costa Rica, in Brazil, in Peru to be getting a fair price for their work, then that's the price you pay for it. Okay, because no one, to the best of my knowledge, is getting shafted so you can drink a cup of Dawn Patrol. But that comes at a cost. It's like if you're buying responsibly sourced clothing, it comes at a cost. You can go to Primark and you can buy it for £3 or whatever, but someone's getting shafted on that journey if you're getting a t-shirt for £3. So yeah, Dawn Patrol was bought, and yeah, it would be really sort of the other person involved is Cramster. He is the creative genius behind it. I have ideas, I message Cram, he turns it into something that is real. Cram has been the biggest, I could cry really talking about the support Cram has given me. Cram's been through his own journey in the last year with a bit of a cancer scare himself, so there's a synergy between us about, his was different and it's fine. But not only are we mates of 20, 25 years or whatever, we've surfed together, we've played football together, we've done all that, we've had crazy nights out together. There's that assimilation between us now that we both had the old cancer. So Cram, he does all the design. See, everything you see through Chopped is Cram. Everything you see, well, not everything in Chopped is Cram. I've had a few other people who've helped me out there. Gav, big shout out to Gav. Laura Jessup, she's done a few designs, and a guy called Marcus Galley, he's done a few designs for Chop. But everything you see, not everything you see with Dawn Patrol, Gav's done a little surfing mocker pot as well for Dawn Patrol. But so that's Dawn Patrol. And chancing my arm up at the not the Surfskate Expo, up at the Para Surf Comp last year, I met a guy called Ramon van der Velde, big guy, Dutch guy, handsome guy. And Ramon, I taught Ramon's kids, I taught two of his children, and he was the new CEO of the Wave Project, and we were having a chat. And don't want to reveal too much of what led Ramon to wanting to work for the Wave Project. The Wave Project, for those of you who don't know, is a charity that gives surfing experiences to people who are suffering from mental health problems, maybe physical disability. It gives them the opportunity to experience surfing. Brilliant charity. And Dawn Patrol is linked. There's a synergy between Dawn Patrol and the Wave Project in what surfing has been to me and what the Wave Project seek to offer people to gain the experiences that surfing has given me. Surfing was the driving factor in me wanting to get better. It was what got me to the gym. It's what has powered my recovery. It's what's given me purpose in my life. Oh, I've totally gone off track, haven't I? I'm going to come back to Ramon in a minute. Purpose. Wilfred said to us when we had our main at the RAC club, he went, "What's your purpose in life?" "Oh, it's to surf again." He went, No. That's not your purpose. That's something you like doing. What's your purpose? And I went, I don't know. And he went, "Well," I always say it like this, I put it to you, because he didn't say it like a solicitor. That sounds like we're in a courtroom drama. I put it to you, but he went, "You're doing a podcast. You're doing clothing. You want to be seen. You want to be heard." And I was like, yeah, that's probably true. And he turns to Jim and says, "And what is it about surfing for you lads?" And Jim went, "It's sort of freedom." And Wilfred looked back at me and went, "There you go. You want to be seen, you want to be heard, and you want to be free." And I was like, on the way home, I was like, bloody hell, that guy knows me better than me. I do. I want to be seen. I don't want to shrivel up and die as an amputee. I do suffer from social anxiety going out. People look at you, people stare at you. They do, and I get it. I would. Got one arm. But yeah, I want to be seen, I want to be heard, and I want to be free. I don't want to go back to living. I'm not critical, I like my job at Open Roots, and if this hadn't happened, I'd still be doing it. But I don't want to go back to the 9 to 5. I want to be able to go and pick my son up. I want to be able to do. I've got to go off another tangent here. A guy I know down the skate park has got his own jewellery business. Check him out. Nuggies, Nuglord, grills and jewellery. Incredible skater. But he's got a tattoo on a small tattoo on his face. And BWJ asked him about the tattoo, and he went, "I got that tattoo to remind myself that I don't want to lead a conventional lifestyle." And that just stuck with me for some reason. I don't want to lead a conventional lifestyle. The time I have left on this earth, I want to do as many things as I can. I'd love the coffee to blow up. I'd love it, well, not even blow up. I'd love it to become something that is a sustainable income for me, and that maybe can inspire people to do things. Anyway, back to Ramon. So, chancing my arm, I was chatting to Ramon up at the Parasurf Comp last year, and he said, "Oh, Stephen, we must get together for a coffee in Newquay." So I was like, yeah. And nothing really came of it. And then I saw that the Wave Project were renovating their shop in Newquay, and I thought, because part of their business model is they sell to get used wetsuits in, and they sell them on to fund the business. So anyway, I went and met Ramon, and we're having a chat, and could catch up for maybe 40-45 minutes, catching up on this, that, and the other. Maybe I should say at this point a little anecdote about Ramon. So when I was teaching his daughter, we were doing Cornish myths and legends, and we had a trip planned down to St Michael's Mount. And those of you know St Michael's Mount, it's beautiful, lovely down at Marazion. It's an old sort of castle type building on a rock that's on a causeway that's tidal. And his daughter, I won't name the names because it's not right to name, but she said to me, "Oh, my dad works at St Michael's Mount." I was like, "Oh, wow, okay." Anyway, turns out he's the CEO of St Albans Trust, or St Albans Estate, sorry, which manage St Michael's Mount. So Ramon arranges for us this bespoke package for our class to go down to St Michael's Mount. We get the coach down. There's a little cafe, or there's a pub with a coffee shop in it. All the children get hot chocolates there. Then we're over the causeway. We meet with Lord St Alban, who's the lord of the manor, if you will. He gives us a little, 20-minute chat about what it's like, the history of St Michael's Mount, the building on it, living in it, whatever. So you're not just going to get that. You're not going to meet Lord St Alban. Then we go out onto the grassed area out the front, and a visual storyteller tells the story of Comoran the giant, which is a big Cornish, the Cornish myths and legends around St Michael's Mount, the giants, and not the giant St Alban, the giant Comoran. Around the castle, mooch around there. We have our lunch. I think that was all paid for. And then into the gift shop. And honestly, the gift bags the children took home would have been 20, 25. Absolutely brilliant day. So Ramon, you're a legend. But anyway, we're chatting, and after a bit I sort of said, there's something I'd like to discuss with you, Ramon. And he went, I thought it might be something, Stephen. Anyway, I whip out some bags of coffees. I've got my own coffee brand, Ramon. I'm sure being Dutch, you like a coffee. He's like, yeah, sure, I like my coffee. I was like, I wondered if you'd be interested in stocking it in the Wave project. Anyway, so he's like, yes, I think it's maybe something we could look at. So I went and had a chat with Ed, the retail manager. I don't think Ed was overly convinced at the time, but if the CEO of the organisation's saying this is something we can try, you've got a bit of a foothold, haven't you? And I've got to say, Ed has become real confident. I've got a lot of time for Ed. He's been brilliant. So got you can buy. We did a collaboration, Dawn Patrol collab with the Wave Project, which is available in their shop in Newquay on their website. You can also buy the non-collaborative version, the Newquay Bay blend, on my website. So chanced my arm there, and I got lucky. They've had a few bags of coffee off me, and it seems to have sold. So that's one real success story this year. And when I walk into town and I see Dawn Patrol coffee in the Wave Project, brilliant, really. And any of the profits that go for, I give them a very good deal on it. Any of the profits they make go to funding the Blue Health Programme, supporting young people who are going through challenging times, with getting in the water, having a surf. So that's that. Where are we up to now? Surfing, yeah. So the surfing, I got into this. I've never really been open about this. So I got onto the Surfing England Parasurf team as a wild card at the start of the year. But unfortunately for me, due to the classifications, I can't be classified as a knee boarder. The only category I can be classified in is stand-up one, which is upper limb missing or whatever. But the weird thing is, in the stand-up one, I could be competing with someone who's, let's say, had their arm amputated. So effectively they've got, not their arm, the hand. So they might have a full arm but no hand. That classifies in. So I've got one arm, they've got two arms but one hand. That's seen as fair competition, which, I don't know, you don't need to have one arm to think that's not really that fair. Now, I can do a bit of stand-up surfing, but not to the extent, nowhere near to the level I can do the kneeboarding. So I did get selected to go out to the Euros in October, but obviously it's a huge financial commitment, and I didn't want to just go and make up the numbers. And I saw some of the pictures of some of the upper limb amputees. I'm not at that level, and I'm not bothered about winning, but I'm bothered about competing. I want to be competitive. And there was no way I was going to be competitive with where I'm at with my stand-up surfing. But yes, I am a member of the Surfing England Para Surf team, but unfortunately it's just something I'm not particularly good at. But one of the reasons around the one-arm press-up and all that is that I do want to get better at stand-up surfing, but there's a weird conflict going on for me all the time. I went out on a beautiful day in summer at Watergate Bay, maybe, it's perfect 3 foot really. I only thought it was going to be 2 foot, so I took my board to stand up on. And when I got down there, I just thought, I should have brought my knee board. And I paddled it out. I was able to get it out. I was able to sit out the back. I was able to paddle into waves. But the one thing I wasn't really able to do was get to my feet and surf. And that's what you're judged on in a surfing competition. You're not judged on, oh, well, he paddled out and he sat on it and he paddled him for weight. And the conflict was, I was watching people getting waves. I think if I was on my kneeboard now, I would be all over this. And when you've got that conflict going on in your brain, are you really focused on what you're doing? You're not, are you? So, yeah, but I am, yeah, I should be proud that, yeah, so there's parasurf events I really like. But I always surf in the open category because I can't get classified, and I've met amazing people. I love the people I always end up surfing with. Raya Sarr from over in Guernsey or Jersey, real competitor, love surfing, and Jimmy Simpson, top lad. I've got so much time for Jimmy, so much love for Jimmy. If you want to look him up, he's on Insta and he's on Facebook. Adventures of Jimmy and Lauren, absolutely brilliant. So much love for Jimmy and Raya. That's not to, but really cool. You can probably tell I haven't really been going off. Totally gone off the chat GPT here. Yeah, that's where purpose started creeping in, and that's what this podcast exists, because I want to talk about what it actually feels like to rebuild your life after trauma, not in a glossy inspirational quote way, but in a messy, honest, sometimes funny, sometimes heavy way. Anyway, when would it have been? I've done a bit of work with Sarcoma UK. They were the first people really to give me the opportunity to do some public speaking. I spoke at an event last year, not a community day, a patient day, and got really lovely feedback on my talk, the vulnerability, the openness, the rawness of it, and that led into I also wrote a blog post for Derriford Hospital that got picked up by Sarcoma UK's press department. And that got pushed out to some national newspapers and various stories. And people were sending me clips of, I've just seen you in the Wolverhampton Star and Herald or whatever it's called. So I thought that was good. And then I got invited to speak at the first Sarcoma UK Community Day. And that's where, that's as a patient advocate, sharing your journey as a patient of sarcoma. So that got picked, yeah. So I did the community day, and then through that I met a lovely couple called Ellie and John Schowler, who set up a foundation, the Edward Schowler Foundation, in memory of their son Edward, who was a doctor, who was a Oxford graduate, by all accounts an absolutely lovely guy. He was a sarcoma doctor, and he ended up getting a sarcoma. He found a sarcoma in his foot, and unfortunately, that didn't get treated, and 8 months later, Edward Schowler had passed away. It made it to his lungs, so they set up the Edward Schowler Foundation in his name, and it's a different type of sarcoma than I had. It's a clear cell sarcoma. What I've learned is there's over 120 different subtypes of sarcoma, and that's why sarcomas are so incredibly difficult to treat, because there can't be any real targeted research, because there's so many different subtypes of it. There's no money in it for pharmaceutical companies, because you've got all these different subtypes that are all different, that all need different treatment options. So anyway, I went over and spoke at the Schowler Foundation over in London. I think it was at University College London. It was an incredible day. I cried listening to Ellie speak about her son. There's a lovely lady next to me who's lost her husband. There's other people, and it makes me realise how incredibly lucky I have been. I know I've lost my arm, I know I've lost my shoulder, my collar, I've lost, pretty much the top third of my torso was gone, but I'm alive. Anyway, before the Sarcoma Community Day, I was contacted by a woman called Ruth Osborne, who is the UK's leading freediver. Now, Ruth Osborne is the niece of one of my very best teenage friends, and his mum had said, "Oh, you should follow my niece. She's the UK's leading freediver." So I've been following Ruth Osborne since I really started the one-arm surfer. Anyway, she got in touch with me maybe in May this year, said, "Oh, I'm in Newquay, my auntie Pam said I should." So we hooked up, we had a coffee, incredible. She's, like I say, if anyone who's watched, I think, is it The Last Breath, the Netflix thing about the freedivers, she's part of that world. Like I say, she's UK's leading freediver. Anyway, she was in Newquay, she was doing a talk, an evening with Ruth Osborne, free event. I was going to go and watch her. And then I think 2 days before the event, she messaged me saying, would you mind comparing the event for me? Because the person who was coming down has had an issue getting down to Cornwall. They live in Leeds. Would you be open to comparing the event? I was like, oh my God, no. But then I thought, you know what, it's a bit of pre-season practice that before they do the Sarcoma gig. So I did it with her. I'm not sure how good I was at it, but we did it, and she very kindly put up as one of the event sponsors, Dawn Patrol Coffee. And as a result of that, a guy bought some coffee off me, and he lived in Newquay, and he came round and picked the coffee up, a guy called Gareth. Me and Gareth started chatting, must have chatted on my drive for 45 minutes, an hour, about my journey, my story, and his brother-in-law had myeloma, blood cancer. Anyway, I had a really good chat. Maybe 2 weeks later, Gareth messaged me saying, I can't get your story out of my head, the way you tell it, the vulnerability, the humour, the sadness, the way you tell it. He said, would you be interested in making a small, short movie about your story with your surfing? I've had quite a few people come to me and say, oh, let's do a little... Nothing's really ever come of it. And I kind of thought that with Gareth. I thought, I'll go and meet him, see what he's got to say, but I don't expect anything to come of it. Anyway, he's like, when should we do this film then? Sort of September would be good, wouldn't it? Because the beaches will be a bit quieter, the surf tends to be good, always tend to get an Indian summer. But should we do it in September? I was like, yeah, okay, if it's something you're up for. We'll do it through his brother-in-law's film company. So yeah, okay, I'll go with it. I'll chance my arm, let's do it. And then he slides me this book, Gareth, and he says, oh, do you read? I'm like, yeah, I read. Slides me this book, so I wrote this book. And there's like oh my God, he's written his own book. So it's going to go one of two ways. This book's going to be terrible. And I'm going to have to sort of fudge what I say to him. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, sorry, mate, I haven't got a chance to read it yet. Anyway, reading his book, absolutely brilliant. And it's about his journey from taking redundancy from Sony Ericsson, I think in the mid-2000s maybe. Goes travelling in Southeast Asia with his money. I think he's in Vietnam, and someone says to him, oh, you must go to Laos. Got to go to Laos, it's incredible. So he goes to Laos. Anyway, while he's in, thing with Laos is it had more American bombs dropped on it in the Vietnam War than were dropped over Europe in the entirety of the Second World War. I believe that's a fact. And it's still a rural community, and it has thousands and thousands of unexploded ordnance bombs in the fields of Laos, and they are still blowing people up every day. They're maiming people. And he meets this guy, Manafet, whose job in the day was to go around and locate the mines, put a flag in them, and then the bomb disposal would come and blow the mines up and make the field safe for farming again. And in the afternoon, this guy, Manafet, runs an English language school and teaches football, and says to Gav, do you like football? I've got a football team. So, and this book's brilliant. So he goes and watches it. They're all into Arsenal, all these teenage lads in Laos. Goes and meets them. Goes thinking, oh, they're not going to be very good. Anyway, in the book he details, totally really well drawn outfit. They turn up on it straight away. Proper training, proper football team. I think he goes to watch them play a match and they absolutely dismantle the opposition. Brilliant. And the dream of all these boys was to play football in Europe. So I think Gareth then goes back to Stockholm where he was living, and he sees that there's this global international youth football tournament, the Gothia Cup in Stockholm, with teams, I think 300 teams from around the world coming. He gets older Manafet, says there's a tournament. Do your boys want to come and play in it? So he arranged for his boys to come and play in it. And this book is about him getting these lads over from Laos to compete in this tournament. And he gets the funding. I think he gets 25 grand off Sony Ericsson. He goes to the head of Stena Line, has a 5-minute meeting with the head of Stena Line. After 2 minutes, the head of Stena Line says, how much money do you want? £25,000, please. We'll sort that out. Gets the boys over. They enter this tournament. If you do want to read the book, I've got copies of Gareth's book. It's called On Safer Ground, and you will not read a better book this year. It is uplifting, it is funny, it is so well written. It made me laugh, it made me cry. It's an absolutely brilliant, brilliant book. So if you do want to have a listen, hit me up. Gareth's got copies. He's self-funded the publication. I mean, he's not got loads of copies. It's not available to buy, but he does have some copies. So if anybody wants a copy, hit me up. And Gareth has given those copies to me. Oh, I need to hold on to that. Anyway, as we're chatting, I think he came to a market I was doing. He bought some more coffee, and I was reading it. But I said, mate, your book is incredible. I love it. And have you ever thought about doing something similar? And I was like, what? Well, I don't know, maybe we could find a young person with sarcoma and we could help them get into surfing and whatever. Gareth likes a bit of surfing. I think he's found surfing later in his life, but he likes his surfing. And that really got me thinking that the very first time I'd had cancer, when I was 22, I was really fortunate that when I was 23, I went over and stayed with my auntie and uncle with my girlfriend at the time, and we travelled up the east coast of us. We went for a year, travelled up the east coast of Australia, and I always remember ringing my mum from a place called Coffs Harbour. I'd been for a surf in the morning, was staying pretty much on the beach. We're eating lovely fresh food, massive prawns, all that wonderful Australian fare. And my mum said, oh yes, I'm amazing. Life's incredible. And what that trip did for me and what surfing did for me was it reconnected me with the joy of life from the trauma and the harrowing experience of having cancer, the sickness of radiotherapy, the fear of dying, all that. That trip reconnected me with the joy of life. And I'd always had this little idea of a surf camp, not necessarily a surf camp, like an adventure camp for young adults similar to me who'd had cancer, where they can reconnect with the joy of life. And I was surfing one day, I was trying to do a bit of stand-up surfing, the surf was rubbish, and this idea just started going around in my head of a surf camp for young survivors, young adult survivors of sarcoma. The Dawn Patrol Foundation. It's a surf camp. And initially I thought at Cornwall, and I thought, no, have it at the Wave. Guaranteed the surf. The surf's brilliant. It can, my phone's ringing, I just need to stop my phone. Let me stop the recording because of my wife, and if it's something serious, I better answer it. I'm hoping to set it up as a CIC, a community interest company, of which I will be the director. And the Dawn Patrol Foundation, the modus operandi, I guess, for the Dawn Patrol Foundation it'll be a surf camp, a fully funded surf camp held at the Wave in Bristol for young adult survivors of sarcoma. So if you're age 18 to 24 and you've been through the journey of sarcoma diagnosis, sarcoma treatment, and you've come out the other side, the Dawn Patrol Foundation hopes or aims to offer you the experience to be around other young adult survivors of sarcoma, to experience the benefits of surfing, of blue health, all the associated, like I say, benefits of being in the water, of surfing, and you'll be around other people who will understand your shared experience, your shared trauma, the fear of the cancer diagnosis, the fear of hearing those words. Because when I was 22, when I was diagnosed with cancer, when I was 23 going through my cancer treatment, my mates were supportive and people around me, you know, did the best they could, but they didn't have an understanding of what I was going through. And I think that experience really possibly negatively impacted a lot of my behaviour, a lot of my actions through my 20s and possibly even into my 30s. I never spoke about that I'd had cancer. Very, very few people. Obviously, my mates at the time, they knew I'd had cancer, but when I met people, I didn't, certainly through university, I didn't really broadcast the fact that I'd had cancer a few years earlier. And so this hopes, the aim is to get people in a really safe, secure surrounding where they can be with other people who've experienced the same thing. They can experience the joy of surfing. So the aim is, so I had a meeting. Yes, let's backtrack a bit. I'm running ahead with myself there. So we had this idea, and I shared it with Gareth, and he said, "Yeah, let's do it. Let's make it happen." And Gareth sort of suggested that maybe we could make a film of this, be an incredibly uplifting film, through his brother-in-law's film company. So my initial strategy was I wanted 3 organisations on board. I wanted Sarcoma UK on board, I wanted Surfing England on board, and obviously I needed the Wave on board. So my initial first point of call was Sarcoma UK. I shared the idea with a connection, Carly, I have at Sarcoma UK. And that's when I first really discovered the joys of ChatGPT, because Carly, I sent her and said, I've got this idea for doing this thing. She was like, can you send me a sort of draft proposal of what it would look like so I can share it with people within Sarcoma UK? I thought, I don't even really know where to start writing out the proposal. So I whacked everything that was in my head into ChatGPT, and it came up with this 4-page document that knew the idea for the Dawn Patrol Foundation better than I did. And it was brilliant what it did. Obviously, you've got to give it the right prompts, haven't you? But it was fantastic. Sent it off to Carly. Subsequently had a meeting with a parent sarcoma support group, also parents who've got children, I think predominantly this was young adults so the parents of young adults who've had sarcoma. And then fortunately enough, I was at the UK Surf Skate Expo, which was an incredible event. I was showcasing Dawn Patrol coffee. We had coffee sampling on. Sold a bit of coffee, made some connections, and I suppose that the main connections I made at that were within Surfing England, and I knew a few people within Surfing England as a result of the Parasurf comps. But that event, I was able to float this idea of this embryonic plan I have, this idea for the Dawn Patrol Foundation. As a result of that, as an aside, I managed to get Dawn Patrol is a brand partner of Surfing England now. So if you are a member of Surfing England, if you go in the membership area, you can buy Dawn Patrol coffee and you get a 20% discount with your membership. So if you are a Surfing England member, if you like drinking coffee, if you like supporting small businesses with a greater purpose, buy some Dawn Patrol coffee. I sound like Bob Geldof there at Live Aid. But yeah, and then the really difficult thing, well, not the difficult thing, but it was difficult to get an in at the Wave, to find someone at the Wave who I could get a meeting with. But I'm on LinkedIn as well, and through LinkedIn I saw that the founder, the visionary behind the Wave, is a guy called Nick Hounsfield. It was his baby, it was his dream to build this wave pool using this wave garden technology, and he brought that vision to life, and he did that with the backing, with the help of a guy called Nick Ashershoff. And on LinkedIn I saw that Nick Ashershoff was posting around, he wants to raise some money for various cancer charities. And as I read the post, his daughter, who I think is either 15 or 16 now, she's doing a GCSE, she was diagnosed with cancer, I think maybe 5 years old, and went through, I think she had a bit of a kidney removed, or maybe a whole kidney removed, and she'd gone through radiotherapy. And when I got to the bottom of the post, it turned out that the cancer his daughter had was a sarcoma, a spindle cell sarcoma. So I messaged Nick Ashershoff and said, I've got this idea that I'd love to run at the Wave. And he got back to me. He got back to me maybe 2 weeks. He was very apologetic for the delay and get back to me. So, but he really liked the idea. Would it be easier to communicate through WhatsApp? Sent me his number, and then Nick Hounsfield, he got back to me and he said, yeah, this is definitely something we'd be interested in helping with. And last week I went up to Bristol and I met with Abby, who is sort of, I think, Nick's right-hand person. She does the PR up at the Wave and the comms, and we met with Nick as well, floated the idea, and they believed that it fit within, I think they have 3 pillars for their impact program, and the Dawn Patrol Foundation idea kind of sat within the 3 pillars of I guess the community impact programs that benefit people. And then I had a meeting with Carly yesterday just to update her. And whilst the Wave haven't yet got back to me with the pricing, Abby did say that you can tell Sarcoma UK that we are committed to partnering to make this thing happen. So the Dawn Patrol Foundation might become a thing, and if we can pull this off, initially it'd be a pilot for 8 young adults, hopefully 4 females, 4 males, within the demographic of 18 to 24. It may be that they have, like me, had to have an amputation. But the wonderful thing about the Wave is you can surf 1 foot waves in the lagoon right up to real. I surfed the expert turns at the comp in June or July, and that is a challenging wave to surf. That is not an easy wave to surf. So I'd love it if I can pass on. I can create something that gives young people the opportunity to have that experience I had on the east coast of Australia at Coffs Harbour that reconnected me with the joy of life. It was surfing, it was sunshine, it was, and the idea is we'll have, hopefully I can get some guest speakers. I've got 1 or 2 in mind who I know through the Parasurf community who I think would be incredibly inspiring role models. They've not had cancer like I have, but they've been through traumatic life experiences, and I think they'd be incredible guest speakers to have on, but also be great at the Sarcoma Community Day. We had there was a psychologist talking about managing the fear of recurrence, which is massive for me. That's something that I don't know if it's on my mind every day, but it sits there. And maybe some people speak about nutrition, about the benefit. Great, this event will be incredible. So if you are a business and you want to look to sponsor, support an event that will have a massively positive impact on young people's lives, hit me up. Managed to have a chat with the group finance director of Dry Robe at the Surfskate Expo, and he put me in touch with someone within Dry Robe. They have something called the Warmth Project, and they said this could be something we'd be interested in if you can come back to us with some idea of money, the funding. No guarantees for any of this, as the economic climate at the moment, I guess, is challenging for every business. But the dream is that next June, we will host the initial Dawn Patrol Foundation Sarcoma Surf Camp that will give 8 young adults the opportunity to be around other people with shared experience surfing. And who knows, let's hope it could be the start of something. There's also a wave pool up in Scotland, Lost Shore. I'd love to do a southern sarcoma surf camp, a northern sarcoma surf camp, and there's very embryonic plans for one over in London. If we could, and the surf camp, there's these wave pools all around the world. If this could become something for young adult survivors of sarcoma, that's the dream. That would be the dream. And that's my winter project, really. That's what's bringing purpose to my life. So, and a percentage of all Dawn Patrol coffee sales will go into the Dawn Patrol Foundation. And I'm doing this for other people, but there is a level of altruism to it. I hope it is. I'm doing it with authenticity and integrity, but also for my public speaking. I think it rounds off the circle really nicely. That yes, I speak in my public speaking about BC and AC before CHOP, and after CHOP, life before CHOP, dealing with the news that we're going to amputate your arm, Stephen. The fear of that, not knowing whether I'd survive, not knowing whether I'd be able to rebuild my life, and then the journey of rebuilding my life, of getting back in the sea, starting up CHOPs. I mean, I'll always rep CHOPs. CHOP will never die for me. I know it's not really probably ever going to be a scalable business, but if you want to support a roots brand, it is rooted in surf skate culture. I am a surfer. I don't skate as much as I was doing, but I love skateboarding. I think skateboarding is one of the most incredible activities out there. When you watch good skaters skate, like so many guys down the skate park are incredible to watch. They make what is incredibly difficult look easy, honestly. So yeah, CHPD. That was the original idea for Chopped. CHPD that I discussed with my daughter Isabel in the back garden. The missing vowels signify the missing bits, and the curve to the brand there signifies the fact that I have no shoulder, and I am I'm disfigured. But yeah, so that is so me and Gareth, we got in the not with Gareth, but Gareth arranged with a brilliant guy called Nathan, who his brand he's a water photographer, surf photographer, Dawn Patrol Photography. We got in the water at the end of September up at Watergate Bay, a lovely day. Surf wasn't massive, it was maybe 2 to 3 foot. And from what I can gather, Gareth's on it. Gareth's got this vision of how this short film about my story of surfing, the sarcoma, and who knows. And I suppose I had my last training session yesterday with Mikey Tooth. Mike Tooth has been an absolute massive part of my recovery. Kettlebell training, strong first training. I'm having to buy new trousers because all my trousers, my thighs don't fit in them anymore. Mike has trained me. He's been a massive part of my journey, not just the physical training, the mental training. Mike is a very, very reflective guy. He's a very thoughtful guy, and in many ways, he's almost acted as much as a strong first trainer. He's been a counsellor to me, it's only financial that I'm burning through my redundancy. The supply money isn't coming in. That I've had to. That was my last training session with him. Hopefully not ever. Hopefully it's only until I can. I have applied for a job and for a CIC working with disabled people. It'd be just as an administrator, 15 hours a week. Find out about that tomorrow. Obviously, I've kind of pinning my hopes on it, but if I don't get it, there will be other things out there. But it's a challenging time financially for me. That the supply, let's not labour on that point. But lost my train of thought there. Should we have a little sip of Dawn Patrol coffee? That's Dawn Patrol coffee. www.dawnpatrol.co.uk. Okay. Speciality coffees sourced from areas around the world, synonymous with great waves, great surfing, lovely beaches, lovely idyllic locations, and fantastic coffee. Signing off. I'm going to probably wrap this up because I've whittled on. I've gone on there. It's probably going to be an hour. I'm going to try and edit this, put it out as a podcast, and also put out just me talking to the screen on my YouTube channel, and then the aim moving forward is little updates on how the coffee's going, little updates on how the foundation's moving on, the challenges of starting up your own business. That was the point of bringing Mike up. As I was leaving yesterday, Mike recognised that he could see in me that the moment I'm probably carrying a bit of frustration, a bit of anger around various things. And he said to me, the thing with you is you are a wonderfully vulnerable person, and that is you're real, you're warm, you're open, you're vulnerable, and at the moment you let in your frustrations and your anger maybe override all your wonderful attributes. And it was a really thoughtful, reflective, I don't know what I'm trying to say there, but it was a really honest reflection of what he saw within me, and we've trained together for the last 2 years. So I need to reconnect with I need to let go of the frustrations and the anger and whatever. But he said to me, so what you set yourself, and I know this because I said it to him when I started to do my first plank yesterday, that when I reflect back on the challenge I've set myself is to set up my own coffee business in an incredibly crowded market, become a public speaker, all really, really difficult things to achieve, that none of the things I've targeted as my way of rebuilding my life are easy to achieve. And you see it a lot with people if it was easy, everybody would be doing it, wouldn't they? Everyone would have their own little business, everyone would have their own little clothing brand, everyone would have their own thing that is special to them, like the coffee is to me. Everyone would be doing it, but it's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do. And skating, surfing, they teach you resilience. They really do. You get smashed off a wave, you paddle back out. I don't even think any different with surfing. First 5 waves I got up at the wave the other day on advance, but I stacked every one of them. It's like, just go again. You just go again. You just go again. But I suppose with surfing, I know that I am going to get a wave. I know I have the ability within me to get a wave if I just keep breathing, if I just keep calm. Whereas I've never set up a business. I don't know that I have that inbuilt ability to get this thing going because I've never done it before. But yeah, that's the dream. And hopefully if I can pull it all together, I will have a very rounded journey to share in public speaking events. And I've asked ChatGPT to do it, to make my talk mean something to others. At the moment, it's just me telling my tale. But I need to find a way that makes that pertinent to other people, that taps into the struggles they're going through in life and how they could, I don't know, maybe use my story to, I don't want to say inspire them, because I've met so many inspiring people over the last 3 years. I've met brilliant, brilliant people. And that brings me onto what this podcast is going to be. It's going to be interviews with people who I've met, people who I know. I'm really fortunate in my life that I know a lot of really, really cool, really talented, really inspiring people, and I'm hoping to get them on this podcast to talk about how they chanced their arm, how they found purpose in their life. And there's a number of people I've got in my head who I think would be incredible guests and who have incredible incredible stories. So that's where this podcast is going. If you've listened this far, thank you very much. There's something, I'm ripping this completely off Blind Boy. I am going to set up either the Patreon or the Buy Me a Coffee for this podcast, because obviously the wittering on bit's easy. Now I've got to figure out how to edit it, how I've got to piece it all together. That takes time, and I would like, if possible, if this could become a source of income. It doesn't need to be a huge source of income. Let's say it takes me 3 hours. My rate as a teacher is 20 odd quid an hour. If I could get maybe 50, 60 quid back, if, let's say, the podcast get, I don't know, some of them had 100 and odd listeners, some of them had 50, 60 listeners. If each person, like Blind Boy says, if you think you'd like to sit with me and have a coffee with me, if you'd like to share a pint with me or a glass of wine with me, if you could donate the price of a coffee, if 20 or 30 people do that's 3 hours teaching. That would mean the world to me. I know we're all struggling for money at the moment, and you might not even get this far. You might be like, I'm bored of this guy wittering on. But if you do get this far and you do think, yeah, I get that, like Blind Boy said, if you'd like to pay me for my work, that would be absolutely incredible. But for now, I'm going to sign off. The next time we do this, like I said, there'll be a few updates, a bit of me wittering on, and then hopefully an interview, a conversation with someone that people might find interesting, that might bring joy to people's lives. And yeah, I think to go on any further would just be prolonging the agony, maybe. But peace, one and all. Go steady. Love you all. Bye.